just kind of wanted to make this video as kind of a reaction interpretation of what went on during the Paris Olympics opening games ceremony. So there's a lot of speculation and interpretation as to what may be actually going on, but I figured I'd offer a little bit deeper of an interpretation based on like esoteric mystery cults and that kind of thing. So for people that haven't seen it, it's a tableau vivant recreation of the Last Supper, which a bunch of trans people were reenacting the parts of Jesus Christ as well as the 12 apostles. And then at the end is the more interesting part. That's when they have a silver covered platter brought out, and underneath is a blue man wearing festive garb with an orange beard, and he's surrounded by a bunch of like fruits and flowers and things like that. So this was seen as really odd. And I'd like to offer kind of like a deeper, kind of like esoteric interpretation of some of the visual cues that we're seeing here, and kind of offer an explanation as to what is actually going on with the showing of this. So, I'd like to preface a couple of things. So, directors don't put anything into a scene by accident. Things are done on purpose when they're on a scale that's this large and for an event that's this big. So, I think it's important to understand that like this kind of thing is shown like kind of like on purpose. It doesn't get to the point where it's actually filmed in front of a gigantic stage of people after being enacted and reenacted a bunch of times, and costume set design, all of this kind of stuff is very very involved, and it's being shown like in a specific way to kind of lay out some subconscious visual cues. What you're looking at here is Dionysus, otherwise known as Bacchus. Now, for people that aren't familiar with the actual backstory of like Bacchus and Dionysus, in the Greek mythology, there is a certain interpretation of Bacchus as the sun deity. Bacchus, Dionysus are kind of interchangeable. This is kind of a little bit offset of the original Greek pantheon. And remember, there's a little bit of changeover that happened when it came to Roman times. So there's some overfolding of the different Greek belief systems. But essentially, the story of Bacchus or Dionysus is that they are a sun deity, and that they are made of a divine material, much like the sun, a radiant light material. So the story of Bacchus is, or Dionysus, is that they are dismembered and then eaten by the 12 Titans. Now, these Titans are representative of the signs of the zodiac. The Titans are made of a basal, rudimentary material, like a crude matter, whereas Dionysus is made of a radiant, brilliant, divine matter, and also has a divine mind. So, the story is that Bacchus or Dionysus is dismembered, eaten by the 12 zodiac signs, or Titans. And then Jupiter, or Zeus, father of Bacchus, father of Dionysus, finds out and subsequently destroys the 12 Titans of the zodiac with lightning bolts. Now, this then incinerates the Titans and causes them to get scattered to the winds, who then become all of the matter that's innate into the physical realm. All the stars, all of the planets, which they didn't really know as planets, they just called them the spheres. All of the matter that is available is made of the Titans materials and the Dionysus material. The Dionysus material is within them since he was eaten. Then is distributed also along with the crude matter of the Titans. And this creates our entire world. So this is kind of where there is a relation to the Christian interpretation in that God's divine presence is within all of us, just as Bacchus or Dionysus' divine presence is within all of us. So what you're looking at in terms of this recreation is kind of not only a interpretation of an alternative style of belief system that Christianity has kind of folded over. But also, my belief is that you're being shown these specific visual cues because the age of Christianity will be ending. It's my belief that the elite, who are not largely religious in and of themselves, use religion as a system of control. Now, when it comes to an empire, there is a plan, in my belief, to make a worldwide empire with a single style of belief system, rule system. Some might call it globalization. Some might call it imperialism at the highest degree. But essentially, what you're talking about is control. Control over the human species. Now, Christianity fulfilled that to an extent with the spread of Christianity across the globe. They kind of took a bunch of things that were previous belief systems and then kind of wrapped them into Jesus of Nazareth's story as well as the 12 apostles. So, what I'm trying to get at is that their official interpretation was from the Olympics Twitter page. The interpretation of the Greek god Dionysus makes us aware of the absurdity of violence between human beings. Now, I believe what they're trying to say is that, like, the eating of the Dionysus or the Bacchus is supposed to be representative of the violence that's going on in the world right now, and that it's not right to eat people because we are all people. I'm not really sure exactly what the specific message they're trying to say is. But I believe what they're actually trying to do is specifically show this type of interpretation of a very famous Christian scene with very overt pagan overtones, specifically to upset the Christians. It's my belief that the largely non-religious elite plan to use the religious sects against each other to create chaos and to kind of shatter the regular interpretations that most people have going on. Now, why? Because when you try to make an entire global empire, it's just easier to have everybody believe the same stuff. It makes it so that way you can have rules that go along cohesively across a society, and it's just a way of kind of consolidating a bunch of different cultures to all kind of come together under one belief system. So what the plan, in my belief, is to kind of show the Christians the rudimentary systems that they then overtook in a way to kind of disillusion people from actual Christianity itself. Now, what this will do will actually embolden the Christians. What they actually want is the Christians to be riled up and defending of their religion, because the Christians are going to be used to enact their book's revelation to the end of the Christian era. Now, what I mean by the end of the Christian era, specifically, is an astrological interpretation. The Christian era began with the birth of Jesus Christ, but there's also astronomical events that happen at the same time. Most people are unaware of what's called the precession of the equinox. The equinox in the spring arrives slightly earlier every year than it did the year before. Over the course of 25,960 years approximately. If I'm getting that right. Over the course of 25,920 years, the entire zodiac sign is moved through the equinox. So what I mean by that is every 72 years, the equinox moves just 1 degree in the sky earlier, and it arrives slightly earlier, and it appears in a zodiac sign. So every 2,160 years, it changes which zodiac sign it appears in. So, specifically, the sign that we are in now is the sign of Pisces. This is why the symbol of Christianity is a fish, because of the equinox being in the sign of Pisces. It entered into the sign of Pisces in approximately 1 AD to coincide with the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, the equinox will be leaving the sign of Pisces in approximately 2160 AD and will enter into the sign of Aquarius. Now, notice that that's actually the sign before Pisces, because actually the precession of the equinox moves backwards through the zodiac. My belief is that we are being shown specific visual cues to get the Christians ready for the end of the Christian era, in which there will be a sect of people that are going to try to fulfill the revelation of the end of the Bible. Now, what that means specifically, maybe not like Jesus actually coming back, maybe not like, the destruction of all things, but more so the revelation could be thought of as the revealing. It's thought that like that book is meant to be like a prophetic, like Armageddon style book, but I believe that the interpretation of the Christian era was brought about from some of the greatest minds that we had at the time. And that Christianity is actually a part of a larger belief system that has to do more with astrological interpretation, sun worship, things of the stars, and our actual physical planet, as well as the space that we occupy. So, like, the Christians are being used to rile up, and what's specifically happening is that they will be brought into a new Christian fervor towards the end of the Christian era to specifically enact the revelation at the book of the end of the Bible, to destroy not only Christianity, but also Islam and Judaism. It's my belief that Islam and Judaism are being pitted against each other for multiple reasons. But one of those reasons is also specifically to have this gigantic war, which will then destroy the foundation of what we would consider religion, since all of them are kind of more than 1,000 years old belief system. But each of them overfolds into even more ancient belief systems. For example, the Platonic year was also seen in ancient Sumer because they had astrological interpretation which noted that the equinox arrived in either in Taurus, which it was back then. And so this system of the equinox arriving in different zodiac signs was mainly kept hidden from most people at a lower level, because that would mean that there is a god that is moving the heavens unseen to everybody else. I'll dive deeper into that later. So, essentially, what you have here is the elite specifically showing you a set of visual cues that are meant to get a certain set of reactions from not only Christians, but also the non-Christians, to bolster the beliefs of the Christians and to bolster the new overfolding religion which will emerge around the time of 2160 AD with the arrival of the equinox into the sign of Aquarius.